back, started to spiral a little bit because I had nightmares, for one. And they would wake me up. My wife would tell you she learned from the first nightmare, she learned don't touch Sam when he's having a nightmare. Don't try to touch him to wake him up. Because, I almost hurt her because I was, in my nightmare. I was asleep still. And so she learned, turn on the lights, yell out his name, and wait till he starts to come out of it. And hopefully he doesn't hurt himself in the meantime, because I would get up out of bed. It was terrifying. Terrifying for her, right? Because she doesn't know what is going on with this guy. Because, I forgot to tell you, I never told her that I was diagnosed with PTSD. Never told her. Never told anyone. Because in my world, in special operations, that's a sign of weakness, or so I thought. Sign of weakness. You got to man up. You can't. Are you mentally weak? No. How many military guys we got here? How many veterans we got in here? All right. And some of you may be combat veterans. I won't ask you. That's all right, but right? And so started having some marital problems. Started drinking a lot because I had to self-medicate from what was going on up here. Because I know now I was the enemy, just whispering in my ear. See? And because I had started to lose my faith, the enemy knew, I got this one. He's weak. I get him. I'm going to whisper in his ear a little bit. And so he did. And I had to self-medicate. I started drinking a lot. To the point where I was drinking and driving to the bar. My wife just had it. And I would tell her, get in the car, woman. Get in the car. And my lovely wife, she would get in the car and just pray that we would be safe going home. Sometimes, actually towards the end there, she refused. Good on her, right? She refused. She's like, no, I ain't going home with you no more. And then, at a certain point, she said, you know what? You're not the man I married, and I don't think I can be married to you anymore. She was about to pop smoke. You guys, military guys know that, right? Pop smoke. She's about to pop smoke on me. And oh man, that caused me to look in the mirror, and I didn't like what I saw, but guys, I didn't know how to fix it. Why? Because I was losing my faith even more. I was spiraling more out of control. Depression had set in. PTSD can happen to anyone, not just combat veterans, right? You all know that. It's just traumatic, right? But because I'm a veteran and this is PTSD Awareness Month, we're going to stick to that for now, right? So it starts to spiral out of control, and the depression starts to kick in, right? Then Sergeant First Class Peter Engelking took his own life by overdosing on prescription drugs. It's my friend, our friend, dear friend from high school. And then Chief Warrant Officer, U.S. Army Chief Warrant Officer Gary Cole took a crossbow, shot himself in the heart, and killed himself. And then Captain Brian Cavanaugh took a gun, shot himself in the head. Lieutenant Colonel Kelly Hodge hung himself in his house. And then more recently, a friend of mine, Doug Pierce, also overdosed on prescription medication. I know what that's like, because at one point, I too put a gun in my mouth. I put a gun in my mouth because I just wanted the pain to stop. I stopped believing in God. And in fact, right before I stopped talking to him, one of my last conversations with him was, bring the apocalypse tonight. If you're up there in this experiment called man, because these people don't deserve you. That was me, man. I was in this dark place, and that was me. Right? It's not a place anybody wants to be in. I know many of you in here probably suffer with depression, and maybe you're suffering with it right now. I'm here to tell you that is the enemy. That's just the enemy whispering in your ear. Don't give them any ground. Don't you give them any ground. And we're going to talk about what we as men need to be doing about it here in a second. So there I am with a gun in my mouth, and I thought, I got to do it. I got to do it. I got to do it. And I started to pull that trigger. I started to pull it. And thank God he didn't listen to me and bring the apocalypse, right? Thank God he didn't. And thank God that he spoke to me, even though at the time I didn't know it, he spoke to me, because He put my kids in my head. And he said, think about them, and I did. And that's the reason I didn't pull it. And on top of all that, I was in poor health too. I was 40 pounds heavier than what you see now. I was dealing with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes. All of this was starting to take its toll on me. See, life was spiraling. Physical, mental, spiritual, spiraling downhill, just out of control. So it was a storm. It was definitely a dark, dark storm. I didn't know anything about the relentless fight, right? But then my beautiful wife introduced me to a community of faith-based, loving people. Unconditional love and undying support. They just poured into me. She surrounded me. See, I was around all this negativity. I was around people from work and people that I thought were my friends, and we all would just feed off each other and be negative. You know, that groupthink thing? That's what we would do. And my wife decided we got to have a change of venue here, right? So she started hanging out with other people. See, I didn't know it at the time, but she was trying to escape from me. You know, I begged her not to leave me yet, that I would change. How many men have done that, right? Please, I'm going to change. I'm going to be better. But you can't be better without Jesus. You can't. You can't get better without Jesus. So my promises were empty. They were empty promises at the time because I didn't have God in my life. So here I am. I don't know how I'm going to fix it, but I love her. I don't want her to leave. And so there I am. Out of shape, unhealthy, and now spiritually dead. And she introduces me to this community, and they start pouring love into me. And again, she didn't want me to kind of hang out with them because that was her safe haven, that was her escape. But, you know, I can be pretty persistent. So I said, I want to go with you to some of these wellness events you're going to. And she finally let me go. And I remember the first time, you remember, Trish, the first time we went to Lori's house and I met all these wonderful people, faith-based people. And I left there. It's the enemy again, guys. Check this out. I left there. We had a great night, a great evening. People talking about God and Jesus and wellness and health. And my wife gets in the car and she sees me in a good mood and she says, what do you think? And I said, these people are fake. And she just looked at me in the car. You can imagine her heart just sank. She's like, what do you mean? I said, there's no way these people can be real, can be positive and loving and encouraging like this 24/7. There's no way. See, but they had found Jesus. They had found Jesus. I hadn't. And so, enter the community right now. Okay, I'm going to this community, and it's starting to work. It's starting to soften me up a little bit because I'm starting to like being around them, right? I'm starting to like it. Then one day my wife went to L.A., and I didn't know it at the time, but she was contemplating not coming back. She's from L.A. She went to see her mom, and so she was thinking about not coming back. And so one of her friends, member of this community, she invites me to church. Her name is Rachel. Rachel invites me to church, and I just, inside I laughed, and I'm like, oh, here we go with God again. One of these people, you know, okay. Holy roller. Jeez. I'm a heathen if I don't go. Okay. So I thought to myself, I thought those things to myself, but the words that came out of my mouth were, I was being fake. I said, we just haven't found a church that we like yet, so we haven't attended. Because I was fake. Now, remember I told you I was Catholic? My mother, Latina, Catholic. Guys, the devil is afraid of a Latina female who's Catholic. So I know I was. And I even thought to myself, she invited me to a non-denominational church over in Cibolo. And I said, if I go to this church, I don't have to worry about the devil. My mom is going to be so mad, you know, that I went to this non-Catholic church. So forget the fact that I lost my faith. I was afraid of mom. There was no way I was going to go. But guess what? God wasn't having it. Because guess what? The next Sunday, my wife's gone still. I woke up, and I know now what it was, but back then I was like, maybe I should go check this church out. see what they're telling the sheep these days. Hear the lies about this God. So I went. Skeptic, right? I went. Fallen, broken, but I went. And I sat in the far back right corner as far away as I could, and I listened. And Pastor Lance, oh man, that man spoke to my heart. Because you know what he was talking about? He's talking about not being worthy of heaven, guilt, all these things that I was feeling. He just started talking. I know now what it was, but back then I'm like, did somebody tell this guy that I was going to be here? What? How does he know? You know? And I was like, man, okay, hold it together, Sam, because remember, God ain't real. This guy is just a coincidence, right? Little did I know, there are no such things as luck, chance, or coincidence, because they denote a lack of faith in divine intervention, right? Didn't know that, but sat there and then started to cry. I started to weep. I just started to cry, I uncontrollably. And I didn't know what was going on. And now I'm mad at myself for crying in public, because that's not what men do. You know, so that's not what Army special operators do. So there I am, weeping like a little girl. And sure enough, I started feeling something going on inside of me. And then my girl Rachel sees me after the service, and she beelines for me with this huge smile, and she's like, Sam, you came to church. And I was like, yeah, well, you invited me, so I'm here. And she's like, great, are you going to come back next Sunday? And I said, Rachel, I think I will. I think I will. Now, guys, I went home that night. I remember my wife's still in L.A. And I went home that day, and I'll never forget, I walked into my walk-in closet, and I started thinking about what I had just heard Pastor Lance talk about, and I just fell to my knees. I just fell to my knees. And I said, I surrender. God, I surrender. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix it. But I need your help. Because Pastor Lance just said you can do it. Please help me. I'm so sorry that I denied you all those years, that I stopped walking with you. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me, Lord. I want to be with you. I want to walk with you. Please, please, please take me back. And you know what's crazy? You people can't even relate to this, but I thought to myself, what if he don't listen? See, I didn't have any good understanding of God, right? So I decided, okay, I need a spiritual mentor. Rachel, will you be my spiritual mentor? See, in hindsight, I hate to tell you this, and I'm not bashing you, but it should have been a man. It should have been a man to step in. We'll talk about that here in a minute, about that relentless fight. So she agreed, and she said, hey, you got a Bible? I said, no. She goes, download the Bible app. I was like, there's a Bible app? I don't know why I was surprised. There's an app for everything, you know, but I was surprised. I'm like, okay. Jesus done made it onto the internet. Okay, let's do this. So, okay, I downloaded the Bible app, and she said, do these Bible plans. Man, 3-day Bible plans, short readings. I was like, okay. I get into this, start reading. And then one day she said, Sammy, have you been baptized? I was like, girl, I'm Catholic. I got baptized when I was born. Check that box. And she said, no, baby, that doesn't count. She said that. And I said, okay, well, she goes, look, let's do the baptism Bible plan together. Okay. So this young girl invested time in me. She cared enough to engage. And she said, let's do this Bible plan. So we did. We did the baptism Bible plan. And I thought, okay, I get this. I'm understanding this, right? On 1 January 2017, New Year's Day was a Sunday, I was baptized. Saved. Oh, man. But you know what? You want to hear something? Some of you probably understand this, but you want to hear something? It got worse. The enemy, He knew, right? Y'all understand this. The enemy's like, what is going on? I had this guy right here. He's trying to get away. So the enemy stepped up his attack. Right? That's what he do. That's right. That's exactly what he do. So, remember I told you I was battling depression? I was still battling depression. Depression would grip me. I would curl up in the fetal position, don't want to go to work, don't want to do anything on the weekends, couch potato, and it would last for weeks. It was bad, man, the mental state that I was in, But now that I found Jesus and I'm being baptized, I thought, I must have a fighting chance here, but I still didn't understand how to ask for help from God, right? I just figured you just ask for help. No. I mean, that starts. That's where it starts, right? But that's not the end of it. So I said, okay, Rachel, I don't know what to do about this depression thing. It still kind of grips me. And it lasts for a couple weeks. Granted, it's been lasting less time now that I'm back in church. And Rachel said, hey, here's what you do. Invoke the authority of Jesus Christ. Because that's the enemy speaking to you. He wants to keep you down. He wants you to kill yourself, Sam. That's what he's looking at. He wants you to put that gun back in your mouth. So I said, okay, when it happens, when I start to feel it coming on, I'm going to invoke the name and authority of Jesus Christ over it, right? So I started doing that. And then she said, and that worked a little, actually it worked, right? But depression was going on for weeks, but it did cut it down probably by a week. But still, it's still there. And then it came back even harder when I started contemplating suicide again. Y'all, the enemy don't play, right? He knows. He knows. And sometimes we underestimate him. Sometimes we give him too much credit too, but sometimes we underestimate him. And so she said, Christian music. Do you listen to Christian music? I said, no. I listen to Tejano, salsa, merengue, I'm a Latino. I don't listen to Christian music. Do they have something with salsa? I know they do now. They do, yeah. But I was like, no. So, okay, I'm going to listen to my spiritual mentor. I'm going to be obedient because I knew at that point, I started to learn God's working through this young lady, right? So I started to learn that concept. So I'm like, okay, Christian music it is then. You got any recommendations? And she started with, some Hillsong. She just started throwing and sending it to me on Spotify and stuff. So I started to build a playlist, right? Get in the car one day with the wife and I threw on some Hillsong. My wife looked at me like, what? Said something like Donkey Kong now, right? So, okay. So I started doing that. And then, of course, reading scripture, right? You got to get into scripture. That's how you grow closer to the Lord. So I got into some scripture and really started every day, just started reading a little bit. That's how I started, just a little bit. I'm going to get to, all this is going to come together. Just bear with me. So I started reading scripture, got the music going, invoking the name of Jesus Christ, and then she said, listen, and when it's really bad, and you're throwing all that at them, call for backup. Call for backup. See, those words resonate with a guy like me. Federal agent, special ops, army, call for backup. Okay, I got you. So that's what I did. I would just send her a message saying, hey, I need backup, like time now. And I got you. And she would pray. Some people say they pray for you, but they really don't, right? Well, you got to surround yourself with people that really pray, right? And so she did. And then I found a group of men through this community that my wife had introduced me to. And they are holy warriors. And I told them the story I just told you, and I said, I need prayer. Okay, we got you, Sam. So they connected with me. They started praying for me. So then I decided I'm going to take the fight to the enemy. You ever heard that term? I'm going to take the fight to the enemy. I'm not going to sit back and wait for him to attack me. I need to engage. I need to take the fight to the enemy. So I did. I started doubling up on the prayer. But like God works through the people around you, so does the enemy, right? So does the enemy. So how did I start doing it? So I doubled up on prayer for my wife and kids first, right? I started there. I said, Lord, please keep their minds free of the devil, right? And then I expanded the circle. to my other family members, and then my close friends, right? And then their friends. And it just kept going to the leaders of my city, state, country. I'm putting all these people in my prayer journal so I can remember to hit all of them in my prayers, right? So I'm building a coalition. That sound familiar? That's what I'm doing, right? And I'm talking to these other men that are in Germany, Colorado, different parts of Texas, these men from the community, and I'm like, need your help. This is what I'm doing. Need your help. We have to engage, right? So that's where I learned about the relentless fight. You see, all of that storm that I went through, all of that was preparing me for what was about to come, right? And I learned that, listen, you can do all kinds of great things in this world, but if you don't put Jesus first, it don't even matter. So I started to learn, when I pray, I don't pray to make my wife a priority. I don't pray to make my kids a priority. I pray that I make Jesus my priority first, above anything else. Some people don't like to hear that. So you got to have your wife, though. I know some of the women get mad. And so the churches are, yeah, but you got to pray for your wife. I do pray for my wife. I do. But I pray that Jesus is first in my life. Because, check this out. What was his number one message to the world? Love one another. Love one another. Right? The 11th commandment, or the umbrella commandment, if you will. Because we took the 10 commandments, right, and we got those, but guess what? If you just love one another, you place Jesus first, all those 10 commandments, they're done. You ain't got no issues with abiding by them. And so I started to learn that, and I started doing that, right? So now we're about to get into a relentless fight, right? Because now I'm emboldened. Now I'm like, I got my boxing gloves on, I got my shield, right? I got my helmet, I'm ready to go. So Isaiah 6:8, what does it say? Also, I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then said I, here am I, send me. Send me. I started praying. You know, true warriors, we don't pray for war. True warriors don't pray for war. But guess what? That's our business. And therefore, our place of duty when war comes. War is here, people. War is here. Spiritual warfare is here, is real. And guess what? I'm engaging. I run towards a gunfight, a spiritual gunfight too. That's what I do. So I'm here to encourage you men to get on it. Let's get on it. You got to do it together because we're better together, right? So I said to myself, well, what else can I do? What else can I do to engage the enemy? So what did I do? I prayed, right? You asked God, what does he want me to do? Because it's not about what I want to do. I was trying to do the ways of the world for way too long. He got me nowhere, right? So I learned. Asked Jesus, what shall I do? So, of course, I started educating myself spiritually through Rachel and then the church and then others. It just grew because I found myself, wanting more, right? Wanting to know more. So I knew that as a man, I needed to get in the fight. It's up to men to get in the fight. For each other, for your families, for everyone else. So one of the first things, in the military, a lot of people were in the military here. One of the foundations of readiness is what? Individual readiness is physical fitness, right? You have to be physically fit. So spiritually speaking, I said, I got to get healthy. I got to get healthy because I have weight. I'm taking 8 different prescription medications right now, and it's starting to become a distractor for the work that I'm trying to do for the kingdom. So I need to get myself healthy. So with my wife and this community that I found, it's a company called Juice Plus. What I started to do is help inspire healthy living around the world because you got to get yourself right. Before you go into any fight, you got to get yourself right. So I dropped 40 pounds, came off of all 8 prescription medications. The love wasn't Juice Plus, it was Jesus, right? All 8 prescription meds, gone. Okay, so what did I ask myself? What else can I do? What else can you do? So, the Lord answered. There's a thing called Project Healing Heroes. They do business as combatptsd.org. See, I'm a warrior. That speaks to me. Combatptsd.org. Let's combat some PTSD, because those men are killing themselves. 22, is it? 22 suicides a day? People, that's unacceptable. That is unacceptable. And I refuse to accept that. So what am I going to do about it? So I engaged. So I joined this organization to try to help them out, just raising money, because they needed money. They needed money to be able to provide the services to these veterans free of charge to them. So I organized a 5K in Cibolo, a fun run. And all the proceeds went, we raised $15,000 the first year, $25,000 the next year, and it's growing, right? Okay. Eventually, I became a member of their board of directors. I sit on their board of directors today. What else can I do? Because I realize that in order to love God, you got to love people. I saw it up here earlier, right? You got to love people. So, again, Jesus' number one message to the world, right? Love one another. So I knew I had to do that. So what else can I do? I helped start a nonprofit for Christian missionaries around the world, right? By providing information and liaison services to them. If you want to know more, let me know. But I started this nonprofit for them because I wanted to go do missionary work, but my schedule just doesn't permit it. Plus with my job, with the security clearance and stuff, it's a little bit problematic. But so what else can I do then? Well, I can support those who go out and fight the good fight for Jesus, right? So I can support them this way. So that's what I did. Started that nonprofit. I made the decision to be a warrior for Christ, right? And engage the enemy. You know, Deacon Rivera and I were having a conversation a few weeks ago, and we were talking about standing in the gap and the relentless fight. And Deacon Rivera, he explained it really well. He said, you know, like a military formation of men, you stand next to each other, right? You stand next to each other to protect those behind you, right? We build this wall. We stand next to each other. But guess what? When you're standing like this, there's a gap. Who's going to stand in that gap, right? That's the next level. That first level, good on you for standing right there in the relentless fight. But then the next level is, who's going to stand in the gap, right? You don't want the enemy to get through, right? Somebody's got to stand in the gap. And so that's what I decided I had to do. I didn't know it at the time that's what it was called, but Deacon Rivera laid it out like that. I was like, yeah, I like the way that sounds, standing in the gap. That's what it means. We have to, and if we don't stand there, men, we have to lock arms. We have to lock arms with each other, okay? It ain't about you. It's not about you. It's about him. It's about the kingdom. It's about love for man, right? So we lock arms with each other because we're better together, right? The enemy wants to isolate you, just like the real enemy on a combat, in a war zone. One of the strategies, cut off communication and isolate. That's what the enemy does to us. That's where I was. He had already isolated me. He was cutting off communication from me, right? Recognize it, men. Recognize it for what it is and engage. Don't be afraid to engage. There is nothing to fear when you're doing kingdom work. Don't be afraid to engage. We got to be able to do that. So let me tell you something else. I got to talk about this. And Bishop, you just tell me when I need to step down. I'm going to try to wrap it up. But I got to talk about this because I found as I'm doing work, I'm trying to do, you know, what else can I do? I'm saying to myself, well, in this world, things cost money, right? I want to talk about money for just a sec. Because in this world, it takes money to do certain things. And some of us, me, grew up with this attitude towards money that, honey, my mom used to say, be grateful for what you have. You have enough. You have food, shelter, clothing. You're good. You don't need to be rich. I'm going to tell you something. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil, right? The love of money. But not money. If you can have anything, but if you love it, you're wrong, right? Because that's the only one you need right there. So Pitbull, I heard him say one day, they say that money doesn't buy happiness. Well, yes, it does. You just have to give it away. And guess what? I need you all Christian good people to have more money. Don't think that you have enough money. I need you to have more money because the more money you have, the more good things you do with it. The more you give it away, right? And so that's what I started doing. I thought I need to make more money for some of these nonprofits that I'm trying to fund to keep things free for those people. So what can I do? So Now I'm a consultant with Absolute Merchant Services. What they do is they help business owners eliminate credit card fees, right? I target Christian business owners because I want to help them, because I know that if I can eliminate their credit card fees, that's several hundred, in some cases several $1,000s that they now have extra that they give to a church, a nonprofit, a charity, to just people in need. And that's my attitude towards money. So I don't want money for me. That's a sin, right? I need money to be able to help others. And I would encourage all of you men to do that. If you don't have residual income coming in, figure out a way to get it coming in. So like that, you can also bless others, right? Because that's what happens in this world, right? That's what we need in this world. So I'm a consultant for them. And then I talked about earlier, you have to pray for your leaders. Whether or not you voted for them, whatever, they're in the position. And if they're bad, they need prayers to be good. If they're good, they need prayers to be better, right? So I started with my city. I got involved. Now I'm the chairman of the Cibolos Historic Committee because I thought it exposes me to other people. Remember, I'm a saved people that serve people. So I got involved with them so I can meet other people and bring Jesus to them. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm doing there. Not enough. What else can I do? What else can I do? So in my church, in Selma Revolution Church, they started a program, a prison ministry down in Dilley, Texas, at the Briscoe State Unit. And I said, okay, it's done through God Behind Bars, a program that gets churches into prison. Okay, I want to lead that effort. I want to be in there. So every Tuesday night, we go down there as a church and we save desperately needed souls. We save these souls. 160 inmates roughly on average that attend the service, and every single time we go, we save 2 or 3. That's okay. Even 1 is okay, right? What else can I do? So I've locked arms. I talked about being better together. I have locked arms with other like-minded people. I have a village, right? There's power in a village. There's power when men get around other like-minded men that aren't afraid to cry, that aren't afraid to be vulnerable, that aren't afraid to say, I love you, to another man. You know what? I have nothing to prove to any man. I'm comfortable with my masculinity, right? I will tell a man I love him in a heartbeat if I feel it, right? And you should feel that way too. Some of you guys are too machismo, especially in the Latino community, right, Deacon Rivera? I know in the black community too. I know, don't sit there and think you got to escape. No, I know some of you think that way, right? But and that's because that's where we were raised, that's what we're exposed to. However, got to let that go, right? You open up your heart to him, all that, everything else will flow, right? So, Proverbs 27:17 says, iron sharpeneth iron, or iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of another, of his friend. I mean, that's what this is all about. I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to start a revolution of grace in one life at a time. I want you to join me in that mission. Men, join each other in that mission. Go out and start a revolution of grace in just one life at a time. That's it. One simple change is what we say in the Juice Plus community. One life at a time in my spiritual community, right? Get on a mission. It's a purpose-driven mission. Get on it. Last thing I want to say to you, never underestimate the power of one, okay? I am are the 2 most powerful words in our language, in the world. For where your mouth goes, your brain follows. I'm going to tell you that. So Exodus 3:14 says, and God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you. I am a man of God. I am relentless. I am a warrior of Christ, for Christ, right? I am strong. And I can make a difference. You got to say it and you got to believe it. Because you can. I just told you all those things that I'm involved in. And I'm still asking myself, what else can I do? Now, don't get me wrong. There's got to be balance, right? I'm at the point where my schedule is full. Not busy. Busy means you don't have control. I have control of my schedule. It's just full. It's just full. So I could take off and put on. However, I put on the calendar because I live by the calendar. I got to spend time with the wife. Got to spend time with family. All right? And any little break that I get where something gets canceled or something, okay, what are we doing? Where are we going for dinner? You know, you have to have that balance. But you will find that you can do a whole lot more than you think you can if you just devote your life and get busy, get moving, get off your butt and get after it, because the enemy's out there. John 13:5 says, after that he poureth water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel wherewith he was guided. Folks, you understand what happens there in that story? Jesus does slave work. Back then, that was considered slave work. You wash somebody's feet. But Jesus took a towel, got down on his hands and knees, and he washed 24 nasty, filthy, stinky feet. Can you imagine the state of those feet back then? Because everybody wore sandals. That's just what you did. They had to be dirty. They had to be dirty. But Jesus didn't care. He was setting the example, right? And he got down and washed all their feet. The Son of Man came to serve, not be served, right? That's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. So, I will tell you that I hope it encourages you to stay in the fight. Stay in the fight, okay? Stand in the gap. And I want to challenge all of you. I would assert that he who dies with the dirtiest towel wins. So I just want to encourage you right now, especially you men, go out and get your towel dirty. God bless you all. Thank you for having me here today. It's been such an honor.